Welcome back to Gray Squadron Gaming Prime Time. That's our podcast for those new here. We talk about all things Star Wars Legion, and today's topic is
We're talking about some tour of duty
Tour
action.
of Duty, the newest mode to Legion. It's actually really fun. So we're going to break it down and pretty much go over like a how to play. We're going to go through the rule book and explain how everything works, give our thoughts after playing some games and filming some and having some on the channel and give you what we think is a good way to start. You have all the options. But let's just kind of jump in. So I think the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to just go ahead and we're going to share that lovely rule book here. Get that going. Okay, here we go. We've got this awesome, which I do like this image a lot, by the way.
It is really cool.
Just gonna throw that out there.
It's like a Wookiee shouldn't get a medal on it.
Oh,
Too soon? Too
a
soon.
little bit. Okay, so the key concepts here, you have a register. Think of this as your full army that you can go and you pull from. They're back at the headquarters. This is what you can take your units from. You pick your units. Everything comes from the register. Your dossier is part of the register. This is where each individual unit, you'll give it a name. Actually, let's just show you the register. So for the register itself, you have a name of your army. So for mine, I went with the Echoes of Alderaan. He went with the Salt Legion.
So one of the important things to know about the bigger difference in tours of duty versus just playing a regular game of Legion is giving your character or your units names, giving your army a name. It puts you into it. It gives them a little more personality and it gives you a story. So like
Yes.
when you're making these, I went with a little silly stuff with my salt. He went very serious. He looked up names for like
Try to
Alderaan
build
and
some
stuff like
lore.
that. So build some lore around it. Kind of put a little bit of thought more than just like, oh, my name is Don. I'm just gonna write name. Like do a little bit in there to make sure that you're actually gonna get behind this because you're gonna play a lot of games with these
Yeah,
guys.
these guys are going to level up. They could actually be complete casualty and die. Don had that happen to a couple.
Right.
So you're going to kind of grow with these people.
Right. So
So very high level, you want to give your army a name.
right.
You want to pick what story arc there's four. We're going to go over them. And then we'll talk about the rest as we go. But your dossier is underneath the registry, and that's each unit. So essentially the unit name. So this would be ATRT, Rebel Troopers, Stormtrooper, whatever the unit is. And then you can give that unit a name. That's what he was talking about. This is where you'll have your upgrades and stuff. But before we dive too much in the building, that's kind of what I wanted to show is just the dossier is your name. The unit is the actual unit itself and stuff. But to explain this fully, I think we have to go more of the rule book so you know how the building and such works.
Absolutely.
So, you got your parts of your registry, which are all here. Won't go over each part with you. Darcy here, combat potential, Paragon, and then your story arcs. So your story arcs, there's one for each faction essentially, and they look just like this, which I happen to have bigger versions to make it easier. So here's the Empire one, bring peace to the galaxy. You have a couple parts. You have accommodations. This is when you level up. You have an option to get these. This isn't available to veteran rank 4, which we'll go over. These sound like a lot of words you don't know what they mean. I understand. Setbacks are bad things that can happen. Defining traits, a bad thing that can happen to your Paragon, which is your main commander, which we'll talk about. And here's each card has fluff on it, which is nice to get you into the story. And then each card has a turning point. And you won't do this until you do through all the agendas, which we'll talk about. So going back to our rule book here, that's kind of what they're talking here, different parts of it. And the cool thing about the turning point is a very unique mission, very asymmetric, very cool.
Right.
Agendas is how we progress to that turning point. There's different agendas here as well. So I'll pull up some agendas so you guys can see some agendas and understand the difference. I'll kind of talk to for those who are listening. But each thing has a different agenda. So I'll give you just a couple examples of agendas. We'll look at this one. This is bring peace to the galaxy. Keep them in line. So Empire, one of the agendas you can pick from. You have 3 you can pick to bring to any you want. You get to pick which one. And you have to complete 2 to do a turning point. But really, it's advantageous you complete all 3 because you get bonus stuff to level up your army more.
And agendas happen in a normal game. You don't even have to be playing an opponent who is playing a tour of duty game as long as you're playing the same point value. So if you're
Yep,
playing a skirmish game against or
recon.
a recon game against another player who's not doing a tour of duty, you can still be playing your agendas because they don't affect the actual gameplay for the opponent at all.
Correct.
So it does help you to be able to get in more games, even if you're trying to, play your tour of duty and you got nobody to play with. You can just go play a regular game, call it
Yeah.
your tour of
Just make
duty
sure you
game.
let your opponent know you're playing, especially
Right,
if you're a little bit more advanced because you can get upgrades for your units, which will get a little weird. But other than that, it's
right,
perfectly fine. And the fun thing about Tour Duty, which we'll get into a little bit more, is that let's say I played 7 games Tour Duty, Don's never played. I can look at my registry, which again is like my army, think of it as my
right,
full army potential, and I can build down to a 600 points. So for his first game, he has to be 600 points because that's what he's given.
right,
There's ways you can increase that with points, but we'll explain that later. And then I can take let's pretend I have a potential of 1,000 points at that point. I would just build 600 worth of my 1,000, and
right.
me and him could play a tour duty game together. But anyway, so you're each advancing your own story and you're each advancing your own agenda. So for this agenda, for example, just to kind of tell you how it works, is keep them aligned. Each time an allied unit causes the enemy unit to panic, put a token on this agenda. During the post game, if there are two or more tokens on this agenda, progress on the registry. Then, if there are three or more tokens on this agenda, progress the agenda on your registry again. This agenda is completed when it has three times. So max you can get in one game is two if you do enough panicking,
Right.
and you have to have three total. So you have to play this one a minimum of two times.
Right.
Some agendas are much easier than others. I feel like for the Empire, this isn't too hard to get,
Yeah, depending on what you're
depending what you're
going
going
against.
against.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's an agenda, and these will all make more sense as we go. It then goes over to about campaign length. It's over three story arcs, they suggest, but there's really no ending. You can keep it going for as long as you want.
Right.
Veteran rank is when your unit levels up X amount of experience, which if we go back, we flip back to our dossier, you can see there's our veteran ranks we can get. And here's our experience over here. We would keep track of it. And it tells you up here how you think. So veteran rank by experience, 0 to 4 experience is going to be, you're not a veteran yet. You're
Yep.
still new. 5 to 12 will get you VR1, 13 to 24 VR2, veteran rank, etc. Every time you get a new veteran rank, you get a commendation, which we'll show you in a little bit here. Each unit type has a maximum VR they can get to, but there's even ways you can play with that too.
Right.
I mentioned setbacks; those are bad things. So if your unit died at the end of the game, you're going to roll some dice to see how bad it is. Did they actually die, or do they just get some setbacks? Same with defining traits; it's the same thing, but it's with your paragon. To make a lot of this make sense, though, I think we have to get to the list building portion.
Right.
So you will start with supply points. These are points you can use to purchase things. When you're building your first game, which this page talks about building a register, you will start with 600 points and 5 SPs, 5 supply points you can spend.
Hmm.
A register has to include at least one commander unit and then at least two core units. So that's it. That's what you have to include. The rest is you have 600 points to play with. You can use it what you with. The other big thing to keep in mind is no unique units, no unique upgrades. So that's no Darth Vaders, no Luke Skywalkers, no Obi-Wan Kenobis, no where people can go and things. No like Gideon for the
Right.
Empire, no Clan Ren,
No named
no
pilots, no Wedge in your
yep,
airspeeder, no
correct.
General
No
White.
Shiv,
Right.
etc. There's ways to bring them into this, but in your registry in your army, you won't have access to them, and I'll explain a bit more.
Correct. So for the Rebels and the Empire, your only option is to build your own customizable
Customizable.
commanders. The Separatists and the Republic have a little bit more flexibility with that T series and Clone Commander,
It won't be
as
as
well
fun to
as
be.
the build your owns. The build your owns. This is really a great way to show off build your owns
Yep,
and how you can personalize them,
I agree.
as well.
And so yeah, so you're gonna make your registry. The registry can never include unique units, which we talked about. When a commander or operative is added to the registry, they may add two upgrades to their dossier and must be given a dossier name by its controlling player. So any two upgrades you want that are within the point limit and aren't unique, you can put on them. You still pay the cost in your register. So if you have a commander and you want to give him improvised orders, you're paying the cost towards your registry. It's not free, but
Hmm.
it's letting you put them on. You can't have more than two without spending those precious SP points, which we'll get to.
Right.
If there's an equip or program, aka for your build your own, your dossiers, and for your droids, your program,
Right.
those don't count to that two limit. You're going to still pay their points, but they don't count towards that two upgrade limit.
Hmm.
When a non-commander operative trooper unit is added to the registry, you may add a single heavy and a single personnel upgrade. So it could be like a Z6 and a Rebel Trooper squad or a Rebel Trooper unit or a Med Droid or something. Still
Right.
paying the points. The one thing I did gloss over is your first commander you add is your Paragon. That's your main character. He is the star of the show. If you're
Right.
playing a show, he is the like Luke Skywalker of the show, right? He's
Hmm.
the main guy. He's who you're emulating, right? Or who you want to play as in your RPG. So keep that in mind. So you can add your cores, your special forces, if you have like supports for like the Republic Commandos, your range troopers, those all would fall into
Yeah.
this category here. You're still going to pay the points for the heavy and personnel, so you may not use it, but you can bring it without spending any SP points, which is the supply points, which we'll talk about how you can use those points to add more upgrades to your units. When a non-commander and or non
Operative.
operative vehicle unit is added to the registry, it gains a single hardpoint weapon, right? That's all you can add without spending supply points. You're still paying the points again for that weapon, but they get it. Um,
If you do have the compulsory upgrades, you do get those as well for free. So like the
correct.
programmed or the
Yep. The
things like that.
equip,
Yeah.
etc. So that's how you're going to build your registry. So you're going to have 600 points. You're going to build that registry up, and you're going to go from there. And then things get really fun. So the first thing you do when playing Tour Duty, you and your opponent, your friend, whatever you call them, decide on what point total. So for the first game, it's usually 600 points.
That's all you can get because I
And
think
if you
you are forced to play the first game at
Well, you
600.
have the SP points. You get to spend it right when you make your army. So if you
Hmm.
wanted to instantly increase your army by 150 for an SP point, you technically can. If you want to hire an operative or something, I mean, there's ways you can
Yeah.
get around it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
mostly it's going to be 600 points. It recommends any game at a value of 800 or less should be played with the recon rules. So you're still playing normal Legion, right, guys? So you're still going to use the recon missions, the builds, the limitations, so one commander, one operative, etc. Anything 801 points and higher, they recommend using the full game rules.
Hmm.
So keep that in mind when you're army building. So now you're army building. You built your register of 600 points. So for this first game, your army building, you're really pretty much just going to
Yeah.
use your
Your
register.
register is your army at
Yeah,
that point.
right?
Hmm.
Now, after you get through it more, you may or may not bring certain things from your register into your game. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. But before we do that, we talked about the agendas and turning points high level. Let's talk about the post game because this is where things get fun. So besides the building your army, constructing it, giving it names, giving it lores, customizing it to your flavor, the other huge chunk of difference in this really is your post game
Right.
sequence.
Because right after that, you play a normal game of
Normal
recon.
game of recon.
So
Yep.
your scoring is everything the same. The only thing that's different is you're picking your agenda.
And you're trying to complete it.
And once you pick an agenda, you have to use that agenda until you complete it, unless you spend one of your lovely squad points. So keep that in mind when you're looking at your agendas to start with. You're going to have to stick with one unless you spend the points to get rid of it.
You get to pick which one you're bringing into every game.
I thought you had to stay with the one until you
No,
play.
you can pick each game. But if the cool thing about the one you're talking about, the supply point, which we'll get to, is let's say round one, you instantly realize, oh man, he's got Courage 4 bubble. Painting is gonna be very hard. I'm gonna use this thing I paid for and swap it out for a different agenda. That's what that's for. So
Oh,
mid game
okay.
you
I
can do
thought it
that.
was. I thought you
It's
were
during the end
stuck.
phase of a round you can do that.
Gotcha.
So progressing agendas is the first thing you do after the game. So players will reference their chosen agendas and progress them as appropriate. So they'll do whatever they need to do to those agendas. Turning point rewards only matter if you're playing a turning point, which is after you do all the agenda work. So we're not going to worry about that at the moment. You're going to award your supply points. Once again, you start with 5 and you can spend them right away when you're building it first. Other than that, every other time you go to the store, I'm going to call it, you all can do it at the post game.
Right.
So everyone will get 2 points. So me and him both, we get 2 points. We each roll a red dice. On a block, we get another point. So we'll have 3.
Right.
On a surge, you only get a point if you win, and in a blank, you get no points. So you're getting a minimum of 2, a maximum of 3 for completing a game.
Correct.
Now, determining casualties and setbacks. So here's what you're going to do. Units that were defeated during the game have a chance of becoming a casualty. Make a casualty check for each unit defeated by using 1 black dice plus 1 additional black dice for each setback it has. So the more setback unit has, the worse it gets for
Yes.
them, right?
Becomes very, very dangerous if
Yes.
you keep those setbacks
So
going
if
on.
there are 1 or more surge results, there usually is a casualty and it's removed from the game. It is gone. It's
Right.
dead. That's it. You're done.
So the first game, not so scary. 4 or 5 games in, when you got a veteran level 3 character that all of a sudden is
Yep.
dead, that hurts.
There's ways to help mitigate that we'll go over. If a Paragon would become a casualty, they instead get a defining trait roll. So you're going to roll and check out the chart, which we'll show in a second, which give you more bad things. So those won't die because they're the main
Right.
character, right? You're not going to lose Luke Skywalker necessarily.
Right.
This isn't Game of
He might get his
Thrones.
hand cut off though.
Yeah.
You know.
Um, if there is a crit result, the unit gains 2 experience and 1 setback. So it's bad and good, right? You're going to
Right.
get 2 experience points, which is a great bonus to help level your character, but you will still get a setback. And then if there is a hit result, you just gain a setback only. And if no other effect was resolved, you just gain an experience point.
So the blank
Yep.
is an experience.
So it's just an experience point, no negative, but you get experience. It's not terrible at all. You award any experience. Each unit that took place in this battle gains 1 experience. So just for playing in the battle, you get experience. Congratulations, you're leveling.
Yeah.
If you are holding 1 or more objective tokens at the
or
end of the game
contesting.
or contesting, you will get an experience point. So if your people are helping you score by holding a token or contesting a point at the end of the game, they will get an experience point for that. It's very nice.
Right.
Then this is my favorite part of this because I think it's very fun.
It is fun.
Then each player chooses one of their opponent's units that was not a casualty and that they felt had a particular meaningful impact on the game. They get 3.
Yeah.
So like your rival, your most feared, the unit that was doing work for them, you're like, you know what? Your Stormtrooper Riots were doing work. Here's 3 experience points for them. That really helps them level. Don was able to level a unit in the first game because he got 1 point for just existing. He got 1 point for contesting at the end of the game, and then he got 3 points because he was doing well.
Definitely the most alive character
Yes.
on
So
on
he
the
got to level him right away. So that was cool. Award commendations, which happens right after experience. So each person that reaches new VR gets a commendation. So when you get that first veteran rank, you get a commendation. We'll talk about that. You're going to make any aid requests. You're going to use those precious SP points to make your aid request, which will show you that chart and show you how you can do that. Each aid request can only be used once unless it says otherwise. There are some that tell you you can use this more than once per end of a round. You will then edit your registry. So if you, let's say you use your edit request, which I'm going to kind of sneak down here a little bit. The very first one's active recruiting. It costs one of your SPs and lets you increase your registrar's potential by 150 points. So with that, you're going to adjust your registry. So when you spend the aid to get 150 points extra, you then can go add 150 points worth using the same building rule. So if I add a commander, another one, I get 2 upgrades for free. If I add a special forces, a core, I get a
Mhm.
heavy and a personnel slot if I want to pay for those points into my registry, because you only have 150 to play with.
Right.
Or if I add a vehicle, just a hard point. So you still have that to play with. So that's where you would edit your registry right there.
You also just have to keep in mind that when you're adding things to your registry, you're still having to follow those recon rules in the beginning of your game. So
No, when
you
you're
don't
adding to
want,
your registry,
well, yes, you can add to it,
you can have
but
8
yes,
special forces, but then when you're building from your registry, that's not very helpful. So
right.
that's what he
So just
means.
keep that in mind is it's when you're playing your first couple games are going to be recon, so make sure you are
Thinking
adding
of
things
that.
to your registry that you will be able to use in your next recon game.
Because recons are more constrictive. You only get
Yeah.
one operative, one commander, 2 special forces, one heavy. So you got to think of those
Yeah,
things.
4 core.
And
So
then if a player has played a turning point mission, you adjust their reputation. That doesn't happen for quite a while. And then you choose a new story arc and you keep the story going. So once you complete all the agendas, if you want to do 2, you get to play the turning point. If you do 3, you get bonus SP and such for doing all 3 and then playing your turning point. And you can choose a new arc. Right now, if there's one arc for each faction, we did confirm in an interview that you can just go ahead and like
swap them around
because you're
if
a
you
rebel player,
want to.
you can play through the Republic arc or the Empire arc, doesn't matter. They are going to have more coming. So don't worry, there's going to be more stories. This is going to
They
be
plan on
a
supporting
pillar
this for a long time.
of Legion, is what they
Yeah.
said. So they're going to have more content coming from it. So don't worry about that either. And this was a newer one they added after the book went live. If a player decides to concede or end the game before its conclusion, that player skips the post game. So let's say you're doing really bad as a player. You're like, I've lost 7 of my 8 units. I don't want to make casualty checks. I'm going to concede, which means good thing you don't have to make any casualty checks. Bad thing, you're not going to get experience or anything else
Right.
either. You're not going to
The
progress
game
anything
becomes a wash for that
for you.
person who
The other player
concedes.
would still get all their stuff. They don't lose out because you conceded. So
Right.
concede's a nice way to keep people alive, but it slows your progress because you're not progressing at all if you concede. So different aid requests. Remember, you start the game with 5 SP points. You can spend those right away when you first build your 600 point
Right.
registry. You can increase by 150, and that's what I meant with Dawn. Was you could start with a 750 potential if you really want to spend the SP there. You can request medical supplies. This is choose an allied unit and remove 1 setback from it. And then if it has multiple setbacks, you get to roll a dice, see if you get rid of some of
Right.
those. So that is nice. It is 1 SP per VR of that unit. So it is can get pricey if they're more expensive. But it's very nice because if you
It
get a
is
bad setback, you can take it off them.
right.
Say no,
It is a minimum of 1 though. So like everybody starts VR 0. So they had to add that minimum 1 because you have to spend at least 1
yep,
point to
makes
use
sense.
this to bring
You can
that up.
request a strategic asset, excuse me, for X XP. You're going to pay whatever the strategic asset is. We'll go over that in a second. That's a different page of goodies. Request reinforcement. So you choose an allied unit from your register, so a unit that's already on your register, and you could see that has a heavy or a personnel upgrade slot on its unit card, and you can add a heavy or personal upgrade. So let's say when you're building, you have the points for a personnel or a heavy, so you just brought a unit, and later you're like, now I really want the astromech or the medroid.
Right.
Now is when you could spend the 1 SP and you can add that medroid. Obviously, you still have to stay within your combat potential to add it, but
Hmm.
this will let you add it. Special training, you can choose an allied unit that's increased its maximum VR rank and increase it by 1. Increase its maximum VR rank by 1. Let's go back up and explain what that means. So if we go back a couple pages to here, as you can see, a core can ever get to VR3. They can't go any higher. But if you spend that, now they're still going to stay VR3 if they're there, but they can now get up to VR4 if you want them to.
Right.
So it lets you increase that potential.
And that just lets you add
More
more
combinations is
combinations.
what you want.
It's yeah, it's good stuff.
So that's that. Supply provisions. Choose an allied unit for each SP spent. Choose a unit, and you may add a non-heavier personnel to it. So this is how you add things like Imperial March, precision targeting scope,
Right.
tenacity, those kind of things you have to spend a point to add per every unit. So it gets very expensive. Don went heavy first and spent all his points building his list. I spent just 2 and left the other 3 to spend later, which I'm thankful for now because I want to make my aid requests.
That's true.
So something to keep in mind. I don't think it's wise to spend all your SP points. I think it's good to hang on to them.
After playing my game, I agree.
Yeah.
It's not great
But if you want to, you
to do
can.
that. Yeah.
Reassign a unit, choose an allied unit, remove the chosen unit from your register. This aid can be done multiple times. So this is like if you have a unit with like 3 or 4 setbacks, you're like, you know what, these guys aren't helping me
Yeah.
anymore. I'm going to
It's
spend the
not going to be
SP.
worth the 4 or 5
I'm going to give
SP to
them
fix
a
them.
honorable discharge from my army, and they're going to go away so I can fill it with a different point value.
Hmm.
That's one of the reasons you do that. Or
Yeah.
maybe you thought you wanted that really good that 30 ATRT, but you're like, man, I really wish I could get that bark speeder or those clone commandos now. So I'm going to spend a point to remove the 30 ATRT. because I don't want to use the points and I don't want to increase my
Right.
registry. Gives you some wiggle room there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and get to the strategic asset because it's one of the aids you can do. So let's skip a couple of these pages real quick. We'll come back and go to the strategic assets page, which is one of our last pages here. Here we go, strategic assets. For those watching visually, I'm showing you the screen with the rule book. For those listening, I'm just talking out loud. So remember, it costs X SP per strategic asset, which means you're just paying whatever SP it is on this page.
Right.
So if I want to request assistance, you may include one unique non-commander unit and any upgrades it could equip in your army this game. This unit and its upgrades do not need to be on your register, but its point total will count towards your points allowed in your army. So let's say, for example, me and him have a 600 point registry. That's all we have. And we each want to bring a commander. We could say, you know what, let's play a 720 point game.
Okay.
So we'll pull 600 points from our registry, and then we have 120 points to play with the commander. We still have to pay for that total because it goes to your army building, not your registry. It does not go in your register, does not affect your register potential. That's one of the ways you can get above it. It's the same with the heroic intervention. You may include one commander unit in this game. This unit may include any upgrades it can, but it again will not be in your register, but its total points do count towards your points allowed in your army for list building.
Right.
Obviously, the cool thing about the first one, it's 1 point, and you can choose this up to 2 times during the post battle. So I can bring two uniques, non-commanders, where this one I can only bring one per battle. Some
But
other,
you are setting this up for your next battle.
yes, this would be you're paying for this for the next battle, or yeah,
I mean, unless you're using it on your very first
yep.
turn, but it's gonna be a struggle to have enough points to do that and make it be valuable, I think.
Depends what you want to play. Like I said,
Yeah.
if you build your 600 point list and you and your opponent don't want to start at the recon, you guys can each say, well, we're each going to spend a 1 point to make our list 750, and then we're going to each spend a point to bring in, let's go up to 850 points so we can bring in commander or something over
Yeah.
that.
I mean,
So there's ways around it,
possible.
but I
It's probably
recommend
not
starting
the
with
best.
the
Yeah.
lower points to get used to it. Other things you can do is you can request special equipment. You may include one unique upgrade in your army. This can be chosen 2 times, same rule. So if you want to include like a Gideon Hask or, a Wedge Antilles or something, this is how you'd get them in there.
Mhm.
Medevac is a really good one. I recommend having this on your register. What this does is during the determine casualty and setback step, choose a unit that was defeated in this game. You do not make a casualty check. You don't have to roll for anything. The negative is you don't risk getting the crit or blank to get experience. The positive, you don't risk them dying or getting bad setbacks, right?
Right.
So you can have it up there and you can use that.
So this is actually, we both did this on our first game. This is a great thing to take your very first game, just to have that just in case to
Yeah.
keep somebody
With
alive.
the note that if you bring this into your game, it is used up. Like even if you don't for somehow don't have any unit
Right.
die, it will be expended because you're bringing it into the game. Another option you can do, which I did pay for, but I did not bring, so it's on my register, but I haven't used it yet, is orbital bombardment. Once this game, at the start of the activation phase, you choose a POI and you roll 5 black dice. Each unit within one of that POI gives a suppression for each of their crit. I thought that was really good to suppression bomb someone if I needed to.
Yeah.
Combat drop in this game, you choose an allied unit at the activation, it gains infiltrate. That's kind of a nice little bonus too.
Always great to have infiltrate.
Authorize extraordinary use. This lets you choose one allied unit during the building. This unit does not count towards your maximum number. So let's say you already have two operatives. You're like, I want to bring a third. You can
You
pay
can.
this to get around that rule. Or if you're in a recon game, you can play it to bring two, right? Contingency plan, what Don was talking about earlier, we were a little confused on the rules at first, but once again, this is once this game, at the start of any end phase, you may choose one of your agendas you did not bring into this game. Your agenda in play is no longer in play, and your chosen agenda becomes in play. At the end of the game, if you did not switch your agenda in this game, do not remove the strategic asset. So this is one of the few that if you bring into the game and you don't use it, it stays on your registry. You don't have to get rid of
Right.
it. So it's a point well spent. That is good because the one I had, I knew at the end of round one, I'm like, I'm not getting this agenda. I will not progress this agenda. That's going to be very difficult. I would have loved to have this to swap it out for one I could have easily got.
Yeah.
So it's a good one. I'm not saying it's an auto include, but it's a good thing to have. So those are all our what we could spend SP points on. Our aids, which were all those we listed, and then the one of the aids is use a strategic asset, which are these here. So they're what you can spend. You get 5 to start. So when you build your first 1600 point register, you have 5 to play with, and you can do it right before your first game. After that first game, it's always spent in that post game sequence.
Right.
That's when you'll do this again. You do this after every game. So that's the good. Let's get to the bad things that can happen. So now setbacks. After Tour Dirty during the battle units, when a unit gates a setback, you roll a black dice. So earlier when we did our check, which was up higher, I'll go back to remind people what it was. A surge is the worst. You're just out of the game. The unit's dead. It's casualty gone. Unless it's a paragon, then it would check for defining
Right.
traits. Otherwise, if it's a crit or a hit, you will get some experience, but you're also going to get a setback for the crit. Otherwise, just a setback for the hit, blanks do nothing. So let's go look at the setbacks. So hit or crit, we're coming to this chart. And we're going to roll again. You roll a dice, and what you get is what you get.
Nope, that's fine.
Oh, I went too far.
Yep.
You're going to have battle fatigued, battle shaken, downtrodden, or story arc setback. So battle fatigue is easy enough when this unit Attacks after the convert attack surges, your opponent may remove up to X dice showing hits from your attack. And you can have multiple of this. So that's why it's one. So right now,
Yes.
if you have one, and let's say Don attacks me with three hits, before anything else, one of those falls off because
Yep.
he's fatigued, and I'm only getting two. If he had three of those on him, man, that'd be a lot of setbacks. You'd remove three. It's not too terrible, not great to have, but not terrible. The next one is
Right.
much worse, especially when you get out like on me on a fleet trooper. Battle shaken is really bad. At this unit's rally step, if it has a number of suppressed tokens greater than its courage, which for a fleet trooper is just two,
One.
well, greater than its courage. Its
Oh yeah.
courage is one, so it'd be two. If it suffers one wound, if this unit is a vehicle or start of the game in the miniature, it'll suffer one wound at the start of the first activation phase instead. But you're just getting wounds. That's not good.
Hmm.
Downtrodden, if you roll a surge, when this unit is added to your army during the army building, it costs 15 points more. You can also have multiple of that. That's a terrible one to have.
It's real bad.
All of a sudden, your 40-point rebel troopers are now 55
55.
points. That
Yeah.
feels terrible. And then story back setbacks, the user gains experience, but then you reference your Theater of War card, which were the cards we showed at the beginning that have special setback stuff, and you do whatever that says.
Yep.
Defining traits now is a player's paragons, that's your main commander, your main character, I'm going to keep calling it, which even says is the
Yep.
main character of the tour of duty and cannot become a casualty. So when the paragon would be removed from a player's registry as a result of becoming a casualty, instead it gains a defining trait which slipped below. So captured command. If you roll a hit at the end of the game, your opponent does not choose one of your most feared rivals. That does suck because you would lose three
Three
experience
experiences.
points.
That's rough.
This defining trait is resolved after 2 games. So that stays for 2 games. So
Hmm.
that's missing out on 6 XP. That's not a good one. Unsure, it's a blank. When this unit is nominated as your commander during the command phase, roll one red dice. On a block result, when an allied unit is issued an order with this command card this round, it gains one suppression token. So, kind of uncertain that theater, not knowing what to do, they're panicking their troops a little bit.
Yep.
Not great. Tunnel vision's a surge. You do not gain SP from your agendas, and you cannot gain experience from the effects of an active agenda. During the post sequence, if you do not progress your active agenda that game, your Paragon must make a casualty check. So, not good.
Yeah.
Not
And
good.
it adds even more casualty
Yep.
checks.
And that's
Okay.
also for 2 games. And then
Yep.
lastly, story arc. Each story arc has a defining trait as well. You would do with whatever one's on your current story arc. So that's the bad. Now let's pivot back to the good. Let's say like Don, for example, he got the one experience for ending the game because you get that.
Hmm.
One because he was contesting objective, and I made him my mirrored rival, so I gave him three more, which gave him five, which gets you to VR rank one.
It does.
Which means you get to play with commendations. Congratulations. You cannot be awarded the same combination twice, which they added. I think that's good clarification. But you get to pick one of these. There's some requirements over here. If there's not a requirement, it means you can get it. I won't read through them all because there's 2 pages worth,
There is a lot.
but they're good. You can get things like your unit gains Inspire 2. This unit may, let's see another one. You get Precise 1, Unhindered. This unit gains a training slot, comm slot. This unit increases its wound threshold by 1 and its break value by 1 if it has a break value. That's vehicle only. That's really good. You get more healthy and lower break.
Hmm.
That's really good. Gains
Tactical.
Scout, Tactical, Recharge, and Shielded 1 for VR2. This unit increases its Courage, Demoralize, Sharpshooter, Nimble, Outmaneuver, etc. There's tons. The Shield one I like a lot, by the way. Recharge and Shielded 1
Yep.
on
You,
like a
you do have to be
Jedi.
VR2 for
Yeah,
those though,
but
but
let's just say got that
yeah.
Jedi running in. That's that. Anyways, there's some cool
So,
combinations.
in case you are wondering, I went with the prepared positions and red defense for my cover pool for my Imperial officer. So he will always start on the board with a dodge, with his exemplar, and be rolling red defense for his cover when he starts. So
That's pretty
I
good.
thought that was pretty good.
I don't have
Um,
any
yep, yep.
Sad
So
Panda.
strong point expertise for him is going to be fun.
Yeah, and then the other thing to keep in mind is let me just scroll up to I'll give you one for example. We'll do the one that I'm currently working on, which is the Rebel one. If we look at the Rebel one, which is liberating the system, one of the things I can pick a combination on my cards. This is for the story liberating the system of rebels.
Hmm.
Is I get another option is hopeful. You increase this unit's courage by 1. If it's a vehicle unit, instead you increase its break value by 1. And if this would make the break equal to or greater the total number of wounds it has, it becomes unbreakable. So that's an option I can pick, which is nice. And as you see,
Yep.
each card has its own setback and its own defining trait, like I mentioned. So that's nice. The Empire one you need to be VR4 to even do, but it
Right.
gains ruthlessness, which could be really clutch in a game. So they each have different ones, which is
Right.
really handy. I think it's very cool personally.
It is really cool.
So yeah, so that's your combinations. There's 2 full pages of them. They have different requirements for different things, different vehicles. High combination. Some units receive rewards and honors for particular heroic accomplishments. These special combinations are known as high combinations. To be awarded a high combination, a unit must have already awarded any listed combination, have reached any requisite VR, and must meet other listed requirements. A unit may only ever be awarded a single high combination. So here's what you need here. Paragon only VR4, Vehicle only VR3, Resilient VR3. So you need some things, but these are really good, right? Like Headhunters, this unit gains bounty. Special Forces VR2. So if my arcs get to VR2, I could have bounty arcs and they're chasing down your commander
I
now.
don't like that. I
That
don't
seems
like
kind
that
of
at
fun.
all.
But yeah, you could do kind of things. I could do a bounty Wookiees and build some Wookiees with some like eye patches and make them look very bounty hunter-esque, look really
Yeah.
cool. I'm really excited to see just in general what the community does with Tour of Duty from a hobby aspect, 'cause I think it's going to be a ton of fun to just have your army really lean into this and really build to it.
Yeah.
I might have to start painting some up. I think what I want to do, I have a Rebel one currently, but for my clone Tour of Duty, I think I'm going to build a full clone only look wise. So like my which you guys have seen my Jedi Guardian. I have a Phase 1 helmet on him. He's
Yeah.
like a clone. I might build some of my customizable with a Phase 2 or Phase 1, and maybe break the helmet a little bit, show a little bit of that face underneath it or something cool like that.
Yeah.
So it's like clone only, I think would be a very cool theme. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what
Yeah.
everyone
I
does.
was I was thinking for the separatists it'd be fun to do the from the Fallen Order, that game, the droids, I'm spacing on
He's
their name,
blanking. I always trying to tell
but
them.
they're like the Badlands droids.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so I
that
think
would
it'd
be
be cool
cool.
to do that with them, but
So yeah, a lot of options there. But that in a nutshell is your tour of duty. The back has different things you can look at, different keyword
right.
glossary, channel log, etc. Nothing big there. The biggest thing I will say to start the game is start thinking of that registry well before you want to play. So you have your registry done. You have 600 points, fill out your registry. Here's all the terms updated here. You want to make sure you have a name, choose your story arc, add your dossier with all your units' names and their points. So you get that on the board.
And while
Understand?
while you're looking at building your registry, make sure you look at your agendas, because your agendas might be helpful in saying, "Oh, I need to suppress a lot of things as an Empire player. Maybe I should bring some suppressive stuff, or
Yep,
I need to do this as a rebel, so maybe I should bring, whatever it is going to help you get to your agendas quicker."
agreed.
Is a good thing to build, and then
Some aids, we talked about like just some blanket recommendations after a game or so. If you want to spend some aids, because you get five, and at the very beginning, once again, you can spend those aids at the start before your first game.
Mhm.
I would recommend a couple things for your aids. Personally, I think I would spend one, max two on some supplies if you want to give like Snows or Riot's Imperial March, for example,
Mhm.
or if I really want to give, I don't know, what's a good example? Like my Jedi Commander, because he only can bring two upgrades. Maybe I need another Force or another Tenacity or something, right?
Right.
That's a good use of those points. So one or two max is my personal opinion. I'll let Don give his opinion
I
after
also
this.
agree with that.
Perfect.
After blowing through my whole usage there, I definitely would have gone less.
And then I think another easy one to take, so you just have it, and you can decide if you want to bring it or not in the first game. If you don't, maybe save the point, but you can request that strategic asset and go with the I think the medevac's a good one to have
Yeah.
on you, which as a reminder, where is it? I'm one
All the way
page
at the
shy.
bottom.
There we go. It's right here. That's the one where during the casualty setback, you don't roll. He's fine. He's alive. So like you have that, your operative, your commander won't die. They can get really bad defining traits, which are still really bad. So they're not as risky, but you don't want those defining traits. But if you're operative or your special forces, sleeper cells or death troopers, maybe you're like, I don't want
Yeah.
to risk these guys dying. Even
Yeah.
even if it's game one, it does suck to lose out in the experience or
Yeah.
get like bad setbacks. Like
Yeah.
every time I have
In
courage.
game one, you're basically spending one squad point to save an experience, unless it's a unit that you spent a squad point already to give an upgrade. Like
Then you can be
if
saving
you
two.
gave Imperial March to a unit and it died, and that
That
unit
mark is
dies
gone.
again, that March is gone. Like you don't get it back when you put
Yeah.
another,
So when
unit of riots on
you
there.
might lose that riot that has no experience out of that game. He might die and go away. And you're like, that's not a big deal. I can literally just bring a different named riot
Right.
trooper unit at no cost. But if you spent SP on him, then you're like, well,
Right.
now I'm down
So
SP
yeah,
squared.
this is 100% must take if you spent an SP to give a unit an upgrade.
Or if you're worried about like an operative or a commander, your name Paragon dying, and you don't really want to deal with those defining traits or setbacks, it's not a
Yeah.
bad thing to
It's
have
an
either.
easy point to
I
spend, I
think
think,
it's
to start.
keeping in mind, guys, you only get two guaranteed SPs after a match.
Right.
Possibility of a third, but it's only a possibility.
And the likelihood that you're going to be, especially in the beginning, spending at least one of those SP to up your value by 150.
Very high.
So it's pretty, those first couple games, you're going to want to get to that full game of Legion worth of points quicker than not. So I would definitely suggest holding on to some of those squad points, especially after we played our first game. I regretted spending my points a little bit there. So think
Yeah.
about that.
And with list building constrictions and stuff, if you buy a customizable box, the coolest thing is you get a commander and an operative in one box, right? You don't have to
Right.
buy two. So I highly recommend, no matter what army you're playing, bringing the commander and operative because you'll sit down when you're building the list and you're going to realize real quickly, like, man, not bringing unique names
Yeah.
is actually harder than you think
List building becomes very interesting.
in a good way.
Yeah, because when you go through, there's your staple upgrades that usually as soon as you put this unit in your list, you're going to put this on. Oh, I can't do that unless
You're
I
like, I
spend a
really
squad
like
point.
bringing
Man,
Vader. Can't bring
I'm
Vader.
gonna bring three squads of riot troopers with Imperial March. That's three squad points you have to spend
To get the
out of your
Imperial March.
five, and
Yes.
then you're in trouble.
Yeah, but
So,
you can't have there's no Dins, no Vaders, no Lukes, no
right,
Obi-Wans, no Krakens, no Dooku's, none of that. So
right.
keep that in mind. So I think one of the things if you're playing Tour Duty, if you want to play Tour Duty, you can play with the Clone Commander T series. I think it'll be a little bit less fun, but you
Yeah,
can do it.
I personally wouldn't suggest it, but
But
you
you
could
can.
do it.
So I would suggest making sure if you're able to get that customizable, and if you can't get it for your first two games, if you're playing for fun, I'm sure the person you're playing with lets you proxy cards until you can.
Right.
But I would start with them, build your operative, build your commander. That's a good staple, and then try to think of things that you're going to use. Obviously, in a recon game, you can only have one heavy. I think most armies isn't a bad idea to bring a heavy in the early game. You have the points for it.
Yeah.
Um, two special forces, right? So just think of that, and like Don said, kind of look at your army's agenda, the story arc you picked, and think like, what am I trying to do with these agendas? How am I progressing them? What would be most beneficial?
Right.
A couple other things to keep in mind is I think you want to make sure in the first couple of games that your activation count is decent enough. I wouldn't go like I'm gonna bring three cores. All three cores are gonna have a heavy. All three cores are gonna have the super squad upgrade, and then you're gonna run out of points really quickly and have a
Yeah.
very low AC army that you might regret. So just keep that in mind. As you're progressing through tour duty, again, you can spend that point to increase your army by 150. So let's say we're like 8 to 9 games in, right? Like we're getting deep into this, and we've done that a few times because you don't have to stop at 1,000 points. You and your player,
Yeah.
which we confirmed with them too, you guys said, let's play a 1,500 point game today,
Why not?
and maybe your register has 1,800 potential. You have 1,800 points worth of stuff on your register. So from your register, you're going to build an army of only 1,500 points.
Hmm.
So your register can be higher and it will be higher often enough than the game you're playing after the first couple. So keep that in mind too. So as you're adding things, after you get to a very high potential, you might be like, I can only ever bring three special forces, but I want to put this fourth special force on here to give me flexibility of which ones I want to bring
Right.
depending on the army. So keep
And
those things in mind.
another thing to keep in mind while you're building your registry, especially in the beginning, is you are allowed to add a heavy and a personnel upgrade to every, unit that can do that, like a core unit to heavy personnel. You don't have to add a personnel or a heavy to every
Nope.
unit. So,
I thought you did
like,
for a hot second, but you don't.
yeah, you don't, you might not even want to, but if you don't, you're going to have to spend a squad point later if you
Yep.
want that
You
personnel.
can't
So
bring it later.
it is definitely something you want to consider when you're building your list of like, how important is it to my stormtroopers to have a personnel slot?
Yeah, it's a
How
good point.
important is it to my, your rebel troopers to have that, personnel slot?
Yeah.
So while you're building your list, it's definitely a different
I
list
think,
building
correct me
experience.
if I'm wrong, but no, you had riots with KXs. I think I brought four cores, and all four of
Yeah.
them had a heavy, but I didn't bring any personnel in my first
Yeah,
one.
the heavy, I definitely get behind the heavies 100%. Like you really want to be able to have some kick to each of your units. You don't really want like just a point securing unit of a naked rebel
I
trooper
guess
or
unless you maybe B1s,
maybe
maybe
B1,
depending what the rest of your army is, but even
but
them,
you're
it's not
you're
bad idea early game to
you're
have
still
like
going to be stuck at only being able to play four B1s for those first two
yeah,
games. So like if you're just leaving them naked and expecting them to do a lot for you, you might not be able to get what you think out of them as like in a normal game when you can have all these other characters and all these other things that are hitting harder for you
that's true.
because really the hard hitting units are going to be your special forces units because your operative is just your build your own operative. So depending on which faction you're using, like the build your own rebel operative and the build your own imperial operative, they can do a little work, but they're not Vader. They're not, gonna be out there.
Operative Luke Skywalker, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to reconsider a lot of what you're normally used to on what units are going to be pulling the weight for you to have naked units
It's
sitting
going
in
to
the
be
back.
interesting when you're at that like 750 range and you're playing recon because then it's going to be like a little overflow table because you got
Hmm.
more than that 600, but not quite enough for the full game. So those will be fun. But so just to kind of recap for people who are really wanting to jump into our duty. So when you start the game, you're gonna build your registry before you start. I put some thought into it. If you don't know about names right away, that's not the end of the world, but put some thought into what your army's gonna look like, what your registry is gonna look like. Get that set, know what faction you're playing, what story arc you're gonna play, what agendas you have options to, so you're building around. Once you have that done, you spent your 8 points that you want to spend, save the rest for later. Really, the next part's to find something to play with, and you start playing a recon
Right.
game, trying to advance your agenda. Again, the agendas range from all kinds of things. I read one earlier. I'll read another random one for you guys, just to give you some example of things you're trying to do. The rebel one. Let's look at a rebel one. We look at the on the run. Each time you gain a priority, put a token on this agenda. During the post game sequence, if there are two or more tokens on the agenda, progress it. Then, if there are three or more tokens on the agenda, progress the agenda on your registry again. So, if you have priority 3 times in the game, you can progress this twice. If it has 3 times if the agenda itself has been completed, when the progress has 3 times. So once you mark on the agenda or on your registry 3 times, you're done.
Right.
Finished an agenda. Good job. That's another example. So they all have different things. Some want to do um, progression, some want to do
Right.
suppression, some want to do ending certain ways away from your people. They all do different things. Just make sure you read them. And they all have a reward too, which I don't think I mentioned, so I apologize. But the one I just gave you, the on the run one, if you do that, the reward after you beat it is after resolving this agenda's progression, choose a unit from registry for each time this agenda was progressed. Then the chosen unit removes all setbacks. Then if it has no setbacks removed, that unit gains 2 experience points. So that's really nice. You have a unit with a couple of setbacks, you can fix it after you do this, and you can give it some experience points. So they all have rewards that do
Right.
different things.
And there's usually at least a little kickback. So like on the run, you can finish it at 3, but if you can finish it at 4, you get an extra bonus because you've progressed the agenda 4 times instead of 3. You now get that 2 experience bonus, right?
No, the agenda is completed when it has progressed 3 times.
Right, but then isn't on the reward, didn't it say something about if it had more? Then if no,
No, if you don't
yeah.
have any setbacks.
But for each time this agenda was
Yeah,
progressed,
so 2 or 3.
you can get it up to 4 though, right?
I guess you could, because if you get two
Yeah, if you get
games,
2 in 2 games.
this one you
So I'm
can.
just saying you
Some of them
you
do have two.
yeah,
He's right.
you want to give yourself an opportunity to
Yeah.
get more of that reward.
And then I mentioned it, but if you look under like the agenda part of the book, it talks about where does it talk about campaign length, turning point missions? It's somewhere, I promise. But it talks about like what if you do 2 agendas, you can go play your tour of duty. But if you play 3 agendas, if you complete 3 agendas and then play your tour of duties, you get some bonus SP and such as well.
Right.
Um,
Plus, competing more agendas means you've got more experience on your characters.
yep.
You're going to have better units. So I would suggest going all the way with all 3 agendas because unless you're really in a hurry, why wouldn't you? But this is definitely like a cool way, like especially if you get a good local group, you can get, a bunch of tours of duty going at the same time and you have a lot of people playing.
Yeah.
It's really nice because like it's not like an escalation league where like if you miss a week, you're not going to be punished because you guys are just both going to agree to pay, I'm going to play a 750 point game. You're playing 750. It doesn't matter if you have 1,000 point potential or 750, you're all playing with that
That's true.
agreement. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, right here, the turning point missions. It says if either player has completed all 3 agendas of their story arc, they must play a turning point mission. If both players are eligible to turning point mission, you just choose which one because you can only have one turning point going at a time.
Right.
So keep that in mind. It's just something you want to know. There is other things like reputation reinforcements. So if your opponent's register has a higher reputation than you, you may include an extra 50 points and upgrades during your army. That's just because he's been playing Turning Point for a year and a half. He's beaten 5 story arcs on
Right.
agendas. He's got a lot of reputation. He's got a lot of beefy units. So to help that with newer players, you get more points to play against him. So you could kind of offset that a little bit. So it's
Mm.
really fun that you can play and let's say he has 2,000 points on his registry he can build from, and I'm just starting, I have 600. We just agree we're going to play a 600-point game. He picks from his 2,000 points a 600-point army, and we play. And at the end of the game, I highly recommend just pulling this up and just going step by step through the post-battle sequence. It's really easy to follow along the steps, and they go completely in order and do everything like that. Very simple.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
If you want to see this in action, we did this at the end of our first tour
We
of
did.
duty game.
We walked through
We
everything.
went through everything. You can go into that video in the description. There's the timestamps. I literally timestamped every one of these. Each one of these bullet points has a timestamp. You can go to it. I mean, obviously, we have no turning point reward, so it's just 2 seconds of us saying there's no turning point reward. But
But yeah,
it's
this is
timestamped.
going to be a staple on the channel. It will be a series going forward. I can't guarantee it won't be every week like the
Oh
main
yeah,
ones because
for
every
sure.
Sunday will be a full Legion Battle Pro. It's not changing. It's not changed. We've never missed an episode drop in over 4 years now. Did you know that, by the
That's
way?
true.
I
That's
looked it up
true.
recently
We did for a little bit play Armada and Legion
for like a hot second.
interchanging for like a
I
couple
think
months,
that was
but
less
that
than
was
4 months.
yeah,
But
that
yeah,
was
in the very beginning,
but ever since we switched to solely Legion, we have not missed a single
Legion
month
every week.
through
So
vacations and through all the things
all
we've
the
done.
things. It's insane to think about. But
It is, yeah.
we promise to have steady flow of tour duties. I would say at minimum, you guys should be seeing at least one a month. My goal is for two a month, but we'll see how
I mean,
ambitious that can get.
the best part about it is we're both like super into it already, and we're like one game in, we're like, I can't wait to play our
Yeah.
next one.
So make sure you follow that. We'll probably have two different tour duties kind of going at the same time. Right now it's Rebel and Empire, but we also want to start a Republic and Droid One to try
Hmm.
out those new units as well. So
We're
you might see
also,
us intertwine, and
I
we
was gonna
will
say,
bring on
we're also gonna
Bob and
wrangle in Bob
Jared and
and
some
Jared,
Tim and some other
Finn.
local people.
Make them play because we bring them, we give them
Yeah.
some cool little things to play with, and then they
You'll
get
get
to
tour duties from different angles, different stories. I'm also curious to see what they do with their stories and
yeah,
such as well. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope this helped you. If you need to come back and reference it, please do. Otherwise, like I said, we did a full tour duty game. We played the full game and went
right.
through the end part very slow, step by step to
So
show
just
everything how it
remember,
works.
in this somewhat how to play, us just explaining the rules. The meat of the game is just regular Legion.
Yep.
You might have some units that have some extra
Yep.
keywords that they
Once you
normally
get through
don't.
that register
Right.
building, you're playing a Legion game, and
Right.
at the end it's tour duty again. Think of it. You're doing all
Right.
the post game, which you're seeing on the screen now, all the post game things. With the small caveat that in the game, especially the first couple, you're trying to progress that agenda, so you have that little extra thing you're trying to do.
Right.
And then once you get higher, of course, you saw your units will have different keywords that they don't normally have, so keep things track. It's a lot of things to keep track of, so make sure you're
Yeah,
just taking it
it does
slow.
add stuff to keep track
Right
of.
now, it's just the paper. I don't, to my knowledge, you guys can put in the chat if you want to, the comments that there is no like
Yeah.
electronic keeping of this, but I do know that Tabletop Admiral, which I can't recommend enough for those who use squad building, he is working on it, so he should have something coming out at some point. That'd be really cool to have.
I'm sure he will.
I'm happy to be his patron. I've been for years supporting him, so thank you very much for keep doing the hard work. He just turns around things, so give him a little shout out for no
Hmm.
reason. But very cool. So yeah, we'll look for that too. But until then, any questions we didn't cover, put them in the comments. If we mess up something somehow, please let us know in the comments. We can't edit it once it's up, but we want it in the comments. And of course, if you made it this far, all our videos always have giveaways. So all of our active giveaways right now, which is all those curl paw tokens we're giving away, all the new sets of them,
Right.
you'll be entered to win if you comment in this video. For the keyword, just say something about tour duty, and you get double entries because we always have that too.
All the tours of duty.
All of them. Thank you so much for listening today, and you guys have a great night.
Bye.